Dad's hand was shaking when he shoved the cardboard box into my arms. The box was light, almost insultingly so, like my whole life could fit inside something that small. "Take your things and be grateful we let you stay this long," he said. His voice was sharp and final. I froze. My stepbrother, Kyle, stood behind him, leaning against the wall with that smirk I hated, half smug, half satisfied. Mom's picture on the hallway table watched everything, her smile frozen in glass. I wanted to shout, to ask why, but the lump in my throat made it impossible. "Where will I go?" I whispered. Dad didn't answer. Kyle's grin widened. "Maybe she can sleep in the shed," he said. Something inside me cracked. I had never felt more unwanted. I turned, carrying the box out into the cold night, the porch light buzzing above me. The air smelled like rain and dirt. But just as I reached the end of the driveway, I heard it, Dad's voice again, lower this time. "Wait," he said, pulling out a second box from behind the door. He opened it, and his expression changed instantly. Kyle stepped forward, confused. Then he screamed. The scream ripped through the quiet street, sharp and terrified. I turned around so fast the box nearly slipped from my arms. Dad's face had gone pale, like all the blood drained out at once. Kyle stumbled backward, his hand pressed to his mouth. What is that?" he stammered. Dad didn't answer. He was staring into the second box like he'd seen a ghost. The air felt heavy, charged. I could only see a corner of what was inside, a folded letter, maybe, and something metallic glinting under the porch light. My heartbeat was so loud, I could hear it in my ears. "Go inside, both of you," Dad muttered finally. But Kyle started. "Now." The command cracked like thunder. Kyle obeyed, glaring at me as he passed. I stood frozen at the bottom of the steps, torn between fear and curiosity. When Dad finally looked at me, his eyes were different, haunted. "Don't say a word about tonight," he said quietly. Then he carried both boxes inside, closing the door behind him. The porch light flickered once, then went out. I was left standing in darkness, holding my box, wondering what could possibly be inside that second one to make Kyle scream. The next morning, the house felt colder than usual. Dad didn't come down for breakfast, and Kyle avoided my eyes. He just kept poking at his cereal like it had offended him. "What was in that box?" I asked finally. He froze mid-bite. "Mind your business." That scream didn't sound like nothing. He pushed his chair back and stood up. "You shouldn't even be here," he snapped. "Dad said you were leaving." I clenched my fists under the table. "I'm not going anywhere until I know what's going on." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You don't get to demand anything, Ellie." "Ellie." "My name." He said it like it was dirty. When he left for school, I waited until the house was silent. Then I crept to Dad's study. The second box sat on his desk, half hidden under some papers. The lid wasn't fully closed. My fingers trembled as I lifted it. Inside were old photos, Mom holding a baby that wasn't me and a small, tarnished necklace shaped like a crescent moon. Beneath it lay an envelope with my name in her handwriting. My stomach turned. Before I could open it, I heard footsteps behind me. "Ellie." Dad's voice was quiet, but it made me jump like a gunshot. I dropped the envelope back into the box and spun around. He stood in the doorway, eyes red, jaw tight. "What are you doing?" he asked. I just wanted to know the truth." I stammered. "The truth about what?" "About Mom," I said. "And that box." He sighed, walked in, and shut the door behind him. "You shouldn't have seen that." "Then why was my name on it?" For a second, he didn't speak. Then he walked over, picked up the envelope, and stared at it like it might disappear. "Your mother left that for you," he said finally. "But I never wanted you to see it." "Why?" "Because some truths destroy families, Ellie." I swallowed hard. "You mean like how you replaced me with them?" His head jerked up. I'd never talked back to him before. "Go to your room," he said quietly. "I don't have one anymore," I whispered. His eyes flickered with something, regret, maybe, but he turned away. When I stepped into the hallway, Kyle was there again, watching, smiling. "You shouldn't have looked in the box," he said. How do you know I did? He didn't answer. He just grinned wider. That night, I couldn't sleep. The moonlight spilled across my window like silver water, and the wind rattled the branches outside. Every creak made me jump. I couldn't stop thinking about the box, the photos, the necklace, the letter with my name. What was Dad hiding from me? At midnight, I heard voices downstairs. I crept to the landing. Dad and Kyle were in the living room. She saw it, Kyle said. I know, Dad replied. It doesn't matter. She won't understand. She's not going to keep quiet, Kyle said. You know her. Dad ran a hand through his hair. Then we make sure she doesn't find out the rest. The rest? My pulse raced. Suddenly, the floorboard under my foot squeaked. Both of them looked up. Ellie, Dad called. I darted back to my room and shut the door, heart hammering. I had to see what was in that letter. The next morning, when they left for work, I went back into the study. But the box was gone. And in its place was a note. If you want the truth, come to the lake after sunset. I recognized Kyle's handwriting. By sunset, the sky burned orange over the lake. I stood on the path, the cold air stinging my cheeks. The lake was still except for tiny ripples that caught the last light. I clutched my jacket tighter. Kyle, I called. A shape moved near the old boathouse. He stepped out of the shadows, hands in his pockets, that same smirk on his face. You came, he said. Where's the box? He tilted his head. Why do you care so much? Dad said you'd be gone by now. Because my name was on it. He laughed softly. You think that means something? Just tell me where it is. Kyle's smile faded. You shouldn't dig into things you don't understand. Mom left for a reason. My mom didn't leave, I said sharply. She died. He stared at me, and for the first time, his smirk cracked. That's what he told you? My chest tightened. What are you talking about? Kyle turned toward the boathouse. You really want the truth? Come inside. The door creaked as he pushed it open. Inside, it smelled like damp wood and dust. On the table sat the box, and next to it a photo of Dad and my mom together, smiling, holding a baby that wasn't me. The sight made my stomach twist. That's not possible, I whispered. She would have told me. Kyle picked up the photo. You're not the only one who lost a mom. Mine left when I was 3. Dad never talks about her. Maybe your mom knew why. I took the photo from his hand. Why did you scream when Dad opened the box? His eyes flickered. Because there was something else inside. What? He hesitated, then reached under the table and pulled out a sealed envelope. This. I didn't want him to find it. It had my mother's handwriting again. My name across the front, slightly smudged. Why would you keep this from me? I demanded. Because it mentions me, he said quietly. And Dad. I ripped the envelope open. The letter was short, written in rushed pen strokes. If you're reading this, the truth is out. He isn't who he says he is. Be careful who you trust, Ellie. There was more, something scribbled at the bottom, but the ink had bled from water damage. Only one word was clear. Boathouse. My skin went cold. Who isn't who? I asked. Kyle stepped back. Ask Dad, he said. But hurry, he's on his way here. I spun toward the door. The crunch of tires on gravel echoed from the road. Headlights flashed through the trees. Why would he come here? I whispered. Kyle's face was pale. Because he knows we found it. I stuffed the letter into my jacket and slipped out the back of the boathouse. The cold air hit my lungs hard. I ducked behind the shed just as Dad's truck pulled up. He slammed the door, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Kyle, he called. Kyle stayed silent inside. Dad stepped closer. I know you took it. Where is she? I pressed a hand over my mouth. The light swept past the shed, missing me by inches. I don't have it, Kyle said finally. She does. My heart stopped. Dad's voice turned sharp. You told her? No, but she found the letter. There was a long pause, then the sound of something hitting the wall. Dad had thrown the box. She can't know, he said through clenched teeth. The flashlight beam moved again, this time toward the woods. I ran before he could see me, branches snapping under my shoes. And then I heard him shout my name, furious and afraid at once. I didn't stop running until the trees thinned and the lights of town appeared. My lungs burned. I ducked behind a fence and tried to think. Dad wasn't just angry, he was scared. What could make him that afraid of a letter from Mom? I pulled it out again under a streetlight. The words blurred from sweat and tears, but I could still read the last line. If something happens to me, it's because of him. Because of who? The letter didn't say. I shoved it back into my pocket and walked to my friend Mia's house. She was the only person I trusted. When she opened the door, her eyes widened. Ellie, what happened? I can't explain, I said. Can I stay here tonight? She nodded without another word. As I lay awake on her couch, I replayed everything. The boxes, the photo, the letter. Something wasn't adding up. If Dad wasn't who he said he was, then who was he really? Outside, a car drove past slowly, its headlights sweeping across the windows. I sat up, my heart racing. The car stopped in front of the house. Then the engine turned off. I peeked through the curtain. Dad's truck sat outside, lights off, engine silent. Mia's voice was groggy. Ellie? What is it? He's here, I whispered. She sat up, instantly awake. Your dad. I nodded. A knock rattled the door. Ellie, Dad's voice said, calm but firm. We need to talk. Mia shook her head. Don't open it. But Dad's voice changed, lower, almost pleading. I'm not here to fight. Just give me the letter. It's dangerous to keep. Dangerous? Before I could decide, the back door creaked open. Mia gasped. He went around, she whispered. We ran toward the stairs, but Dad was already inside, his face pale and desperate. Please, he said. You don't understand what's at stake. Then tell me the truth. I yelled. He took a step closer. That letter was supposed to be destroyed. Your mother, she was part of something before we met. Something that can still hurt people. What kind of something? He hesitated. She worked for someone who doesn't like unfinished business. Before I could ask more, a window shattered behind him. A shadow moved outside. Dad turned and froze. Glass scattered across the floor as the shadow outside moved again. Dad grabbed my arm. Upstairs. Now. Mia's mom shouted from her bedroom, but Dad pushed me toward the steps before she could come out. I tripped halfway up, heart pounding. Someone kicked the front door open. Heavy footsteps entered. Give it back, a man's voice said. Deep. Cold. Dad turned to face the hallway. She doesn't have it, he shouted. I crouched at the top of the stairs, peeking through the railing. The man was tall, wearing dark clothes, his face hidden under a hood. He looked straight at Dad. Then where is it? Dad didn't answer. The man stepped forward and grabbed him by the collar. You think you can hide her forever? Hide me? Dad shoved him off, yelling. Go, Ellie. I sprinted down the hall, pulling Mia after me. We climbed out her window and dropped onto the lawn, landing hard. Behind us, I heard a loud crash, then silence. Mia's voice shook. Who was that? I don't know, I said, breathless, but he's not after the letter anymore. He's after me. Somewhere behind the house, another door slammed. We ran into the dark. By morning, we reached the old library near Main Street. It had been closed for years, but one window was cracked open. We climbed inside and found a corner hidden behind dusty shelves. Mia wrapped her arms around her knees. Ellie, you have to tell me what's going on. I handed her the letter. She read it slowly, her brow furrowing. This doesn't make sense, she said. Who's him? Your dad. I thought so, but now I'm not sure. We sat in silence for a while. Dust floated in the sunlight like tiny sparks. Then I remembered the necklace, the silver crescent moon from the box. I pulled it from my pocket. On the back, something was engraved. L13. What's that supposed to mean? Mia asked. I don't know. Maybe it's a code. She leaned closer. Or an address. Before I could reply, a sound echoed through the library, a faint click, like a door unlocking. We froze. Someone's here, Mia whispered. Footsteps echoed on the marble floor. I stuffed the necklace back into my pocket. A familiar voice called out softly, "Ellie?" It wasn't Dad. It was Kyle. Kyle stepped out from between the shelves, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. "How did you find me?" I demanded. He lifted his phone. Dad's truck had a tracker. I followed the signal here. Mia crossed her arms. "You brought someone with you?" He shook his head quickly.
No.
"I came alone, but we don't have much time. That guy from last night, he's not working for Dad. He's looking for you because of Mom." I frowned. "You mean your mom?" "No," he said. "Yours." He pulled something from his jacket, a folded paper with the same handwriting as the letter. I found this hidden under the floorboards in the boathouse. It read, "If anything happens, protect the girl. She knows more than she remembers." My stomach tightened. Protect me from what? Kyle looked down. Mom wasn't just running from Dad. She was running from the people she worked for. "Who are they?" Mia asked. Before he could answer, the front doors of the library burst open. The hooded man stood there, framed in the sunlight. Kyle's face went white. "He found us," I whispered. The man's boots echoed across the marble floor. Mia grabbed my hand. "Back door," she hissed. We darted between the shelves, Kyle right behind us. Dust swirled with every step. The man called out, "You can't hide forever, Ellie. Your mother tried that too." I stopped cold. He knew her. Kyle pulled me forward. "Move." We reached the back exit, but a chain locked it shut. Kyle yanked it hard. It didn't budge. The man's footsteps grew louder. "Give me the necklace," he said. I clutched it under my shirt. "Why do you want it?" He laughed softly. "Because that little charm opens something very important. Something your mother stole." I glanced at Mia, then at Kyle. "If I give it to you, will you leave us alone?" I called. "Maybe," he said, but the way he smiled made my skin crawl. Kyle whispered, "Run on my count." 1, 2. Before 3, he hurled a heavy book across the aisle. It slammed into a shelf, sending it crashing down. We bolted through the dust cloud toward a side window. He stared at it like it was glowing. "Just like hers," he muttered. Kyle lunged forward and shoved him hard. "Run." I stumbled through the broken window, Mia right behind me. We hit the ground outside as Kyle jumped after us. The man tried to follow, but the window frame collapsed, trapping him for a second. We ran until we reached the train tracks behind the library. My breath came out in short gasps. Mia looked back. "Is he coming?" I turned and saw the man crawling out of the window, slower this time. Kyle grabbed my shoulder. "We have to go to L13. "What's there?" "It's not an address," he said. "It's a storage locker. Mom's." "How do you know?" "I heard Dad talking about it once. He said everything started there." I stared at the horizon, the setting sun turning the clouds red. If that locker really held answers, it might also hold danger. But I had no choice. We started walking toward the train station. And behind us, the man began to run. The train station was nearly empty when we got there. A cold wind blew through the platform, carrying the smell of oil and metal. Mia hugged her jacket. "Do we even have money for tickets?"
Kyle shook his head.
"We'll figure something out." I checked the necklace again. The engraving, L13, was faint but clear. "Where's the locker?" "Storage depot near Pine Street," he said. "About an hour away by train." A voice echoed over the loudspeaker. "Train 47 to Pine Street arriving in 5 minutes." My heart pounded faster. We hid behind a vending machine when 2 police officers walked by. "Think Dad called them?" I whispered. "Probably," Kyle said. "He's trying to find us before they do." The train screeched to a stop. The doors slid open. We slipped inside and took seats near the back. The lights flickered as the train started moving. For a moment, I felt safe. Then I looked out the window. Through the glass, a dark figure stood on the platform, watching as the train pulled away. Even from a distance, I knew that stance. The man had found us again. The train rattled through the countryside, each sound making me jump. Mia leaned closer. If he's following us, what do we do when we reach Pine Street? We get to the locker, I said. Then we figure out what's inside. Kyle looked uneasy. There's something else you should know. I frowned. What now? He took a deep breath. That photo you found, the baby wasn't you or me. My stomach dropped. Then who was it? I don't know. But Dad said once that Mom kept a secret about another child. One that never made it home. Before I could reply, the train lights flickered again. A shadow moved between the cars.
Kyle stood.
Stay here. He disappeared through the door connecting to the next carriage. Minutes passed. Mia whispered, "He's taking too long." I started toward the door, but before I could open it, Kyle stumbled back in. His sleeve was torn, his face pale. "He's here," he gasped. He jumped onto the train. The door behind him burst open. The hooded man stepped inside, eyes fixed on me. He smiled. "Your mother said you'd be smart enough to find me." Everything froze for a heartbeat. "What do you mean?" I asked, backing away. He lifted his hood. His face was older than I expected, sharp and tired, with a scar across one cheek. "Your mother didn't die," he said. "She disappeared before they could make her talk." My mind spun. "You're lying." "Am I?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded photo, Mom, standing next to him, both smiling at a baby I'd never seen. Kyle whispered, "That's the same baby from the other photo." "Exactly," the man said. "The child was real. She hid her to protect her." "To protect you?" "Why me?" I demanded. He looked straight at me. "Because you're the only one who can unlock what she left behind." The train lurched suddenly. Passengers screamed as lights went out. "Emergency stop," someone yelled. When the train halted, the man lost balance. Kyle grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the door. We jumped off onto the gravel. Mia followed, landing hard. Behind us, the man's voice echoed through the darkness. "You can run, Ellie," he shouted, "but I'll always find you." The wind howled through the empty tracks. We followed the dim glow of a distant streetlight until we reached a row of storage buildings. Faded letters on a sign read Pine Street Storage Depot. Locker 13 was near the far end. My heart thudded as we approached. The lock was old and rusted, but the crescent moon necklace fit perfectly into the slot. It clicked open. Inside was a small metal case wrapped in cloth. I lifted it carefully. "What's in it?" Mia whispered. I unwrapped the cloth. Inside lay a USB drive and a note. "For Ellie. If you found this, the truth can't stay buried." Kyle stared. "A flash drive? That's it." "There's got to be more," I said. "Something important." A noise behind us made us all turn. Dad stood in the doorway, breathing hard, dirt on his face. "Ellie," he said softly, "step away from that case." I held it tighter. "You knew about this?" "Yes," he said. "And if you open it, you'll destroy everything your mother tried to protect." Mia whispered, "What's on it?" Dad's eyes darkened. The truth about who she really was. Lightning flashed outside, lighting up the narrow aisle of the storage unit. Dad stepped closer, palms raised. "Listen to me. Your mother wasn't who you think she was." "What do you mean?" I asked. "She worked for the same people chasing you now. She built something they wanted. That drive holds the data." "Data for what?" He swallowed hard. "A program that can erase any record of a person. Governments, identities, everything. She made it, then hid it when she realized how dangerous it was." Mia whispered. "She made people disappear?" Dad nodded slowly. "And they'll do anything to get it back." I looked at the drive, the small piece of metal that had caused so much chaos. Then a voice echoed from outside. "Too late," the man called. He stepped into the doorway, gunmetal glinting in his hand. Dad turned, shielding me. The man smiled. "Thank you for finding it for me." I held the drive tighter. "You'll never get it." Lightning flashed again, and thunder shook the building. When the light faded, the man was gone. And so was Kyle. "Kyle!" I shouted into the rain. No answer. The storm pounded the roof like fists. Dad rushed to the doorway. "He can't have gone far." Mia pointed toward the field behind the depot. There. Someone's running. We chased after the shadowy figure through puddles and mud. My shoes slipped, but I didn't stop. The drive was still in my pocket. Lightning lit up the field. I saw Kyle turn back once, his eyes wide, frightened. Then another flash showed the man right behind him. Stop, Dad yelled. A loud bang cracked through the night. For a moment, everything went silent except for the rain. When we reached the hill, only Kyle's jacket lay in the mud. Mia covered her mouth. Where is he? Dad picked up the jacket slowly. They took him, he said. I clutched the necklace around my neck. Then we get him back. Dad looked at me sadly. They won't stop until that drive is destroyed. Then we make them stop, I said, my voice shaking. The wind howled again, carrying a faint sound, tires screeching far away. The chase wasn't over. We followed the sound to an abandoned factory on the edge of town. The windows were broken, and the old sign read Lark Industries. Dad whispered, "That's where your mother worked before she vanished." Inside, the air smelled of rust and smoke. We found footprints leading to the basement stairs. Mia grabbed my hand. "Are you sure about this?" "No," I admitted, "but we can't leave Kyle." The basement was lit by flickering lights. Machines stood silent, covered in dust. In the center of the room sat a computer hooked to a generator. And tied to a chair, Kyle. The man stood beside him, typing fast. The flash drive was plugged in. He turned when he heard us. "You really should have stayed hidden, Ellie." Dad stepped forward. "Let him go." The man smiled. "It's too late. The upload's almost complete. Once it's done, your mother's program will belong to me." The screen showed numbers racing upward, 85%, 86%. Mia whispered, "What happens when it hits 100? I swallowed. Something bad. I looked at the necklace, then at the USB slot glowing faintly. There had to be a way to stop it. I reached for the computer, but the man lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. "Don't," he hissed. "You'll trigger the failsafe." "What failsafe?" Dad shouted. Ellie pulled a plug. I yanked the power cord from the wall. Sparks flew, and the screen went black. The man shoved me away, furious. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" "Stopped you," I said, shaking. He laughed darkly. "No, you just activated it." The lights flickered red. Alarms blared through the factory. Kyle struggled against his ropes. "Untie me." Dad rushed over and cut him free. The man turned toward the door. "You can't stop it now. Everything will vanish. Every file, every name connected to your mother's work." Mia shouted over the noise. "Then how do we shut it down?" He paused, eyes glinting. Only she could. I looked at the dead computer. A small panel beside the keyboard had opened, revealing another slot shaped exactly like the necklace charm. My heart pounded. "Ellie," Dad said, "it's your choice." I hesitated only a second, then slid the necklace into the slot. The alarm stopped. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then the screen flickered back on, showing a video, grainy but clear. It was my mother. She looked older, tired, but her voice was calm. "If you're seeing this, Ellie, I couldn't tell you the truth in time. I built something to protect people, to hide them from those who wanted control. But it was stolen. I hid the key in your necklace." She smiled sadly. "If you choose to finish what I started, the system will erase itself. But if you walk away, they'll keep chasing you. Whatever you decide, remember, I love you." The video froze. Everyone was silent. Dad's voice cracked. She wanted to end it, not weaponize it. The man clenched his fists. "Don't listen to her. Power like this shouldn't disappear." I looked at the flashing screen. 2 options. Erase or restore. Rain hammered the roof again. I pressed erase. The lights flared white, and the computer hissed. The man shouted, "No," and lunged forward. But the surge knocked him off his feet. When the light faded, the computer was smoking. And the man was gone. Smoke drifted through the factory. The screen was cracked, the word "system deleted" flashing faintly before it died. Kyle coughed. Is it over? Dad nodded slowly. It's gone. Everything she made, wiped clean. I touched the broken necklace. Then she's free now. We walked outside into the rain. Sirens echoed in the distance. Police, maybe, or something else. Mia smiled weakly. We should go home. But Dad stared at the horizon. Home might never be the same. Kyle looked at me. Thank you for not giving up. I tried to smile back, but my chest felt heavy. We still don't know where she went. Dad sighed. Some secrets stay buried for a reason. I turned the empty necklace charm over in my hand. For a second, I thought I saw light shimmer inside it, just a flicker, like a signal waiting to be answered. Maybe she's still out there, I said softly. The wind carried my words away, mixing with the rain. Mia whispered, What now? I looked at the dark horizon. We find her. Lightning flashed again, lighting the empty road ahead. And in the distance, a shadow moved.